put Brad Stevens in the Massachusetts Hall of Fame. I was done with work. I walked out of this office, locked it up, and got in the elevator when I got a Woj bomb that Brad Stevens signed Lonnie Walker to the Boston Celtics for the 15th and final roster spot. We're going to break everything down here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports because I don't sleep, neither does Brad Stevens. We want to make sure you guys have everything you need to be a Boston Celtic fan. So the only thing you guys have to do to give back to us is hit that sub button for me. I'm working, Smitty's working to make sure you guys have this information because Brad Stevens does what he wants to do. But every move that he makes is just chef's kiss. I love everything about this. Let's break it down. Here's what Woj tweeted out as I'm in the elevator going down. Then I pressed the up button and I went back up. Free agent Lonnie Walker has agreed on a one-year deal with the Boston Celtics. His agent, George Langberg of GSL Sports Group, tells ESPN, Walker averaged about 10 points and shot 38%. That's key there from the three-point line. He's already a Boston Celtic. He averages 38% from downtown in 58 games for the Brooklyn Nets last season. Lonnie Walker is only 25 years old, same age as Xavier Tillman, but he's played about 4 years in San Antonio, then went to the Los Angeles Lakers, and then found a home with the Brooklyn Nets. So he's definitely had a pretty long stint in the NBA trying to find a forever home, and why would he not want to with the champs, the Boston Celtics? And I saw a tweet earlier. Smitty and I were talking about it literally this morning. Why hasn't anybody signed them? It was actually kind of crazy that in my head, there are only a few guys out there that are still free agents. I'm kind of like, meh. You know, they're not going to really help the Celtics do anything. Lonnie Walker could. Lonnie Walker really is a good basketball player. And in retrospect, if he were to take this 15th and final roster spot, it would be a huge addition to the Boston Celtics depth chart. When you're looking at a stat sheet here, no, it doesn't scream Boston Celtics championship caliber, but it's an efficient role player. Like I said, 9.7 points per game, averaging less than 20 minutes a game, 2.3 rebounds, 42% from the field, but the 38% is what I know Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens really, really liked. Plus, when he's going up against championship caliber teams. For example, the Golden State Warriors in the 2023 playoffs, here's what he had to produce. And that's the goal, right? The Celtics to get back to the playoffs. We want a guy that we know can compete with our best 14. 10.6 points per game, 1.5 boards, 1.5 assists, shot still 39% from downtown, which means he shows up when it matters most. I mean, what did we do? What did we do in our past lives to deserve Brad Stevens as our GM? I feel bad for everybody else out there that doesn't have a Brad Stevens running their company. Brad Stevens for president 2024. I'm voting for him on my ballot because he does it again. Smitty and I were just talking. Anybody could have made this move. The man's been a free agent the entire summer. But now that Brad Stevens did it, it's genius. But Shams Charania of The Athletic did go into more detail here, which is why I want to talk about how genius Brad Stevens is. They gave him an Exhibit 10 deal, which pretty much means that they're going to allow him to try out for the Boston Celtics to make that 15th roster spot. Lonnie Walker's not doing a two-way. Well, he can't. There are no more options. And he's definitely not playing for the main Celtics. So what Brad Stevens, in my opinion, is telling Lonnie Walker here, we're going to give you an Exhibit 10. We're going to bring you in because we know you're a fine basketball player. But how do you fit with our championship team? Because this is for when Lonnie Walker really wants to showcase his skills and say, I want to play for the Boston Celtics. Here's what I had to do. So on this Exhibit 10, Brad Stevens is going to get to feel him out before he makes that final roster spot. Because that wasn't always the plan to fill up the 15th final roster spot. Brad Stevens recently said we kept 14 most of the year last year, and then we added at the end of the year. We'll see how the next few months play themselves out with regard to people's availability. Obviously, Kristaps is going to have a long rehab process ahead of him, and we have to determine what's the best need for our team in that 15th roster spot. We have to be mindful with that last roster spot, what our needs might be. O'Shea had a terrific year with us. In his shoes, there might be desire to play more too. I always want to be respectful of that. So it doesn't look like O'Shea Brissett's getting any phone calls in free agency, which is what I thought they would do with their 15th roster spot. But the fact that this man, Brad Stevens, ended up not with O'Shea Brissett or Svi Mihailovic, but with Lonnie Walker, Come on, man. But here's what we have to reiterate. This isn't a Kristaps replacement. Well, he's not even the same position, exactly. No one's going to replace a 7'3" unicorn. You got a guard and a center here. But that also doesn't mean that the Exhibit 10 will work out. Brad Stevens is a genius, and for some God-known reason, he can see 10 years into the future. And if something does happen, the reason why they re-signed Neemias Queta, Luke Cornett, and Xavier Tillman is for insurance purposes, for Kristaps Porzingis' rehab, and how he's going to come back, and what kind of player he's going to be when he comes back. This has nothing to do with Porzingis' injury or his rehab. This is just simply a good basketball player was still available. So with all that being said, we still have more to unpack. What's your one-word reaction to Boston signing Lonnie Walker in free agency? Not to mention at 8:30 on a Wednesday night, Brad doesn't sleep. Go on ahead and comment it down below. Before I break down everything else that I want to talk about with Lonnie Walker, how does he fit into the Celtics? What does this mean? And how is this going to play out? I do need to tell you guys real quick about the best meal service delivery I have ever had, which is a Factor. If you guys want to go on ahead and make sure you're eating right, chef-crafted, nutrition-approved, dietitian-approved meals that are easy, no mess, no prep, then you guys need to be using Factor. Not to mention, I know bikini season may be over, ladies, but I'm always trying to lose some weight. I'm always trying to be my physical best, and I like to feel good too. When I eat good, I feel good. And I know a lot of you guys, basketball season's coming up. A lot of you guys have kids that just got back to school. So if you guys are looking for really good meals that there's over 35 different options you can choose from, plus 60 different add-ons, then Factor is for you. So if you guys want to make sure you are eating the absolute best that you possibly can in this fall coming up, I need you guys to go on ahead and do one thing for me. Head on over to factormeals.com/chatsports50. That's going to get you guys 50% off your next box and 20% off your next month while your subscription is still active. Just go on ahead and go to factormeals.com/chatsports50. Use promo code chatsports50. That's going to get you guys 50% off. All right, so let's talk about how Lonnie Walker fits in with the Boston Celtics. The fact that they need an off-the-dribble bench scorer is why they ended up getting somebody like Lonnie Walker. You just saw what he can do from his field goal percentage and his three-point percentage, and the man is a natural dog. Honestly, when he was playing against the Boston Celtics, he also had a tendency to bring that dog out. I think that when you've got a player like Lonnie Walker or any player that you're going to bring into the Boston Celtics, there's a certain type of regimen that they like all their players to uphold. Three-point shooting, for example. You're a good three-point shooter, you're going to catch the eye of somebody in the front office for the Boston Celtics. And Brad Stevens is known to have this niche where if you pop off against his team, he wants you. He likes what you're doing over there. Porzingis, for example. Man drops 32 in Washington. Boom, you're a Boston Celtic. And I saw this tweet, and I thought it was incredible. Lonnie Walker versus the Celtics last season, 57% from the floor, 54% from three, 8 for 13. Get out of here. Best defensive rating of any net. The Nets were minus 18 in 64 minutes with him. Nets were minus 64 in 128 minutes without him. Career 59% shooter versus Boston. His best against any team. And oh yeah, he's 25 years old. But when you're looking at the guard position, it's kind of already set. In my opinion, where I think this will kind of come into play is right here. I think maybe Derek White goes more so. Obviously, he's a shooting guard. May go down underneath Lonnie Walker, can take some off of Derek White's plate so he doesn't have to play point guard when Drew is resting. But I don't think he's going to sit below Jaden or J.D. Davison. And that's okay because I think Peyton Pritchard has honestly created a big enough role for himself that he's not going to let in and let Lonnie Walker take the role that he has created. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Lonnie fits in with the Celtics guards that are already pretty spectacular. But he does have a real chance to get some minutes. I was even talking about Baylor Shireman of Ford, who I think is going to average 10 minutes per game. Even Sviva Hyluk averaged 10 minutes per game last year. I do think Joe Mazzulla is going to find a way for Lonnie Walker to fit in this roster, even though it's star-studded. When you've got a player that's got that three-point caliber and he's a good two-way player, I think Brad Stevens is acquiring him because he has a vision. So if you guys like Brad Stevens' vision or if you freaking hate it, let me know in the comment section down below. Grade the signing of Lonnie Walker IV, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm going to give this an A- just because I don't really know how this is going to pan out 100%, but this is 100. When I saw this tweet, I'm like, how? How do we keep getting better? How does he keep upgrading? The man is finessing the system by doing nothing but his job. Brad Stevens saw yet another low-hanging fruit because Lonnie Walker's been available 4 months. Nobody picked him up, but now that the Celtics say they're going to be like, well, how'd they get Lonnie? I wanted Lonnie. Well, sorry, Brad Stevens is just a freaking genius. So overall, I'm going to give it an A-, but I'm going to let you guys go on ahead and pick for yourselves. And as always, if anything happens, as you guys can tell, even if I'm in the elevator, I'll come right back up and let you guys know the latest. Hit that sub button for me.